KPFT Houston, 90.1 FM, and kpft.org.
Welcome to Politics and Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northeast, South, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and everybody listening to us on that great thing called the internet, created by whom again? Created by you, profited by a few. But you know what, folks? We are going to change all of that. Good morning to every nook and cranny through which our 100,000 watt transmitter sends its signals to those magical boxes known as the radio, aka Howard Reynolds machines. Anyway, folks, before we get started, welcome to the studio, El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Beba. Good morning, my brothers.
It's Jack Morantz and Howard Sansui.
Right. Those are the magical
I
music
remember
boxes.
those amps.
Yeah, I've got one upstairs. I got a 6500 QR 6500. Had rebuilt to the tune of $600, which is probably what it cost originally in '73. But man, it will blow a house down. And in fact, I get in trouble all the time with our interim general manager, Sandy Wyman. Turn that down.
Turn that down.
How can you stand to listen to it that loud? I went, what?
It's not loud.
It's not loud unless it's rattling the floors. It's not loud.
Exactly.
And the bass response on that particular device is just unbelievable. Just clear, beautiful sound. From 1973 is when those things came out. Had it for a number of years.
Was that solid state, or did it have a tube in it?
No tubes. It's solid state.
Okay.
It came out in 1973 when Quad was coming onto the market, and the Quad sound was amazing, truly amazing, like a surround sound. But they didn't have the real technology to make it work right. Now we do, but. Anyway, the QR 6500 is a house rocker, and I like to turn it up as loud as I can sometimes.
Watch the sheetrock crumble.
You listen to the neighbors hanging out their window. I can't hear you. The music's too loud.
Those are the days.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. Oh,
indeed. Yeah. Well, particular rants this morning have.
I got a couple.
You do? Yeah, well, you got half a page of wisdom over there.
Yeah, and something else. On the entrance ramp here, leaving the studio, getting up on 59, heading east. There's a great big sign up there that says "Zero Premium Medicare Advantage." So,
are you going to rant about
buyers beware. No, it's just something. It's a sign up there, and it's a big lie. All they want to do is get you to flip to Medicare Advantage, and then they'll take advantage of you.
I love that. When you mentioned that, Jack, earlier this morning, I said, you know what? After you're done giving us your wisdom, I just want to talk a couple minutes about that, because that's an important issue, my brother. But anyway, go on with your stuff.
All right. This is okay. Trump, disinformer at large, spread lies about hurricane. Now armed militias are terrorizing FEMA workers, putting lives in peril as they interfere with recovery work. This man has no shame or conscience when it comes to how he treats citizens. And the other part of your stuff this morning, I believe Harris is having a problem with young, inexperienced black men and Hispanic men because of religious politics at the pulpit. And they believe Trump's lies about the economy, migrants, transgender, and crime. I think that's the stuff that's driving this.
I think that you're probably right there, Jack. But, you got to stop and think of the source. This is the man that said that they were eating pets in Springfield, Ohio.
Meow.
This is the man who lied about everything. He's been on trial so many times you can't even count. Why would you believe him? That has got to be the biggest question. Why would you believe anything Donald Trump says? It's like the little boy who cried wolf so much that the wolf finally ate him and nobody believed it. And this is what's going on with the Donald. I wanted to puke every time I heard that. The Donald. I'm like, oh, come on. Really? Seriously? All right, that's
Yeah.
enough of that.
But anyway, that is so true, my brothers. But I tell you what, let's go ahead and start with just a little 2 minute thing here on Medicare Advantage versus Medicare traditional Medicare. First of all, let me tell folks that if you can afford, I mean, if it may put you out a little bit, if you can afford traditional Medicare, uh, it is what is best for you. It's the policy. It's what we all call that policy that gives you, the American citizen, the most freedom, because it is you who chooses your doctor. It is you who chooses your health care. That is a government saying, over the decades after decades of you being an employee, of you being a worker, of you being a business person, every single mm, day of your life, every single payment you received, you paid about 3%. And it doesn't matter if you made $10 or if you made $1 million. 3% of that was your premium to Medicare. And for that, we the people, your government, promised you real health care. Now, it also said, because it's sort of an insurance plan, that we are going to pay 80% of your costs, and you would be responsible for 20% of your costs. Let me tell you a dirty little secret. Well, actually, this one isn't dirty. The truth of the matter is, a lot of doctors out there, they know that a lot of people, poor people included, are on standard Medicare, and a lot of times they'll kind of waive the 20%. They won't advertise that, but you can kind of get them to waive the 20% that you owe them, because again, the way it works is, a lot of times they even kind of bill a little bit freely. Now, that said, again, remember that traditional Medicare, you get the health care that you need by the doctors that you want. Now, you know how we talk about capitalism and the private sector. I am for the private sector. I am just not for the private sector abusing you, which is by definition what that C word does. Now, there's this stuff that these guys, first of all, uh, Medicare came into be, one of the reasons, because private insurance would not insure older people. Because older people do what? They get sick more often than younger people. So they decided that we can't make money insuring older people. So we, the people, came to your rescue. All Americans came to the rescue of our older folks, also realizing that we all eventually get older. Now the government took over and it says, okay, we'll pay the premiums for for your health care. You will contribute for all your working life. You will contribute 3% of your salary. And by the end, but when you're done working and become 65 years old, we will start paying for your health care. The private sector said, wow, there is a bunch of money to be made. Medicare standard didn't cover eyes, ears, and teeth, and it's 20%. So it has some cost to the average person. So Medicare has always allowed the private sector to insure that section, that 20%, and the dental and the health and that sort of stuff. And the private sector came in and they made a little bit of money by doing that. The government still took care of the major part of the cost. But that's not enough for the private sector, for the capitalist sector. They said, wait a minute, there are billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars there. Why don't we create something sort of Medicare like, make it sound pretty, and convince the government to pay us a fixed cost for every single person that sign up with us that's on Medicare. So the capitalists come in now and they say, okay, government, we'll pay you bribes, the lobbyists, for you to vote on allowing something called Medicare Advantage. It's really private insurance governed by some of the Medicare rules. And to convince you to come with us, we are going to offer things that traditional Medicare does not offer: dental, health, dental, ears, and eyes. We're going to offer those things. And we are going to also kind of eliminate that 20% burden. Some of us do, that 20% burden that you have to pay. And in doing that, we also convince the government, this is a, I mean, if it, that you are going to pay us about 20% more. Remember what the deductible is already, 20%, right? But you are going to pay the amount of money you're going to pay for Medicare Advantage for every person would be about 20% more than it really costs overall Medicare. But not only that, you would allow us to categorize how sick the patient is, and based on how sick the patient is how much we are going to tell the government you should give us for each of these people that we insure. And we are going to have outside companies come up and teach us how to make people look sicker to the government, but more healthy to the insurance companies. So they make a ton of money on your back. Like I've always told you, capitalism is nothing more than antiseptic slavery. So when Jack Van Beber goes up on that freeway and he sees that sign that says zero premiums for Medicare Advantage, it is partially true. It is partially true. According to the AP now, there is a catch. The adage that nothing in life is free applies here. The plans charge no premium, but most people who qualify for Medicare still pay a monthly cost for the program's Part B, which covers doctor's visits and other outpatient care. That usually comes out of your Social Security check and will totals up to $164 next year. So they're smoke and mirrors that they come to you, get you to sign up. Once you sign up, you're in, and they bill the government for the thousands of dollars per month for you, whether you get care or not. And then many times they stick you with doctors, not your doctors, doctors that they have on contract that are trying to get through Medicare Advantage people like cattle, meaning you don't get good care because they have to pass 50, 60, 70 people through their offices no matter what. So the doctor comes in, sees you for 15 minutes, say goodbye. Another person comes in, the doctor sees you for 15 minutes, goodbye. And you have doctors that are paid and then they're monitored with their performance. I mean, it's a racket. So my contention to you again, for all of you over 65 that are on Medicare, and those of you that are under 65 that because of disability qualifies for Medicare, please do not. If you have any extra bucks in your pocket, think about your health first. Think about going for Medicare, traditional Medicare, and not Medicare Advantage. And if there are any Medicare Advantage salespeople listening to me right now and saying, oh, my plan is very good, except please feel free to call me. I'll be more than happy to discuss this issue with the best salesperson of Medicare Advantage. So please feel free to call uh, Politics Done Right at 713-526-5738, because I'll prove, no matter what you sell, that what you're selling is a racket to the good people of America, to the great citizens of the United States of America. You are ripping them off. You are, in fact, to some extent, by selling them what you sell them, you're putting their lives in danger. And for the big profit you get for every single sale, some of these guys make over $2,000 and sometimes more just for selling you a policy. That's why they'll take you to lunch, they'll take you to Luby's, they'll take you to breakfast, and they'll take 10 of you at one time. And then they'll say, sign this up, this is good for you. And you get a belly full and you feel, I got me a free meal. And for a free meal, they've gotten your $10,000 from the government for your health care, which they don't give you much for that result. Any salesperson want to call, please feel free. I would love to hear from you. Let's see, for the listeners, for my listeners over 65 that are getting ready to take Medicare, let's see how many calls come in from the great insurance companies that are fooling you to kingdom come. Please call 713-526-5738. And by the way, you can also, folks, tell them to contact our 3 o'clock show if they are asleep right now and they're trying to convince you to get that policy. Have them call our 3 o'clock show. Anyway, folks, Jack Van Vever again hijacked Politics Done Right by bringing up a subject that was not on the menu for the show today. Today's menu for the show is about the armed militia threatened FEMA recovery workers. And the other topic, which I'm going to start with, is both black men and white women must be asked the same questions. They must be asked the same questions. So we'll start there. I want the media to do its job. I want the media to inform all of us. I want our media to be unbiased. I want our media to say, you know what? First of all, I am sorry that I had to make the point about black men, white women, because I think race is one of the most stupid things out there, because it really makes no sense. It has no meaning. When we say it's a social construct, that is exactly what it is. But we are in a racialized society. Now, yesterday, as I'm preparing for the 3 o'clock show, I'm watching MSNBC and I'm watching Andrea Mitchell, a reporter that I respect, a reporter that I know she's rather conservative, but I mean, it doesn't matter to me if you're given real news. Whether you are conservative or not should not matter, because news is news is news. You can have a point of view, but news is news. And yesterday she really went sort of, I don't want to say after Kamala, because that's not what she was doing. She was just making a big issue out of black men voting in a lesser amount, lower percentage for Kamala Harris than black men usually do. Okay, and all right, granted, is that a true thing that seemed to be happening? It's something that seems to be happening. All right. And the reason, everybody's looking into that is, could that cost Kamala the election? Yes. But there are a lot of things that could cost Kamala the election, right? But the thing about it is, if people are voting on their best interest, if people are voting for what they think is best for them, then it is incumbent on the media to point out to people, well, by the way, if you are voting this way, remember this is what this stands for. And as a group, since we racialize everything, there's an issue with the way you vote. I want you to listen to this cut here. And then I'm going to expand on it a bit and tell you what really perplexed me, what really got me upset with it. And then we'll go ahead and take it thereafter on the other side. Check this out.
Kamala Harris has done something she has not done before, agreed to an interview with Fox News with Bret Baier on Wednesday night in Philadelphia. So that is a big deal. One of the criticisms is that she's only been going to friendly interviewers. She has not challenged herself with that kind of interview up until now. Valencia?
Well, I would kind of disagree with that because she actually has gone to the hard journalism interviews. I think one of the criticisms that people aren't actually overtly saying is that she's spending a lot of time doing media that speaks directly to voters, like she just interviewed with the Shade Room and Roland Martin that speak to Black voters specifically. She's going to Fox News. She also offered to do another debate that Donald Trump was scared of. I do want to push a little bit on this conversation around who her voters are, given that I have been in presidential politics for numerous campaigns, particularly working with Black voters. I am a Black voter myself. Listen, Vice President Harris and her campaign rolled out an economic policy plan today for Black men in particular. But the reality is, whether or not Black men vote at the same margin at the 1% to 2% shifts, they are still the second highest voting bloc of the Democratic Party. We're seeing margins shift in Latino communities, the API communities. And the reality is, if abortion is the number one issue, the conversation also has to include why majority of white women have continued to vote with Donald Trump in the last two elections. And so we actually have to make sure we are not demonizing Black voters in this conversation and having the conversation that Vice President Harris is having.
And that's yet in such a close election. Let me just push you on that for a moment. Those margins, yes, of course she's getting the overwhelming majority of the Black vote. There's no question about that. But if she's getting a smaller margin of Black male voters or Hispanic, that's enough to make a difference in this tight election. And I think that from all of my reporting, the campaign is well aware and really concerned about that. That's why they're focusing this way. And I would just say that sitting down for an interview with Bret Baier on the Fox News network is something she has not done before.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing that it's something the campaign should be paying attention to. However, what I'm saying is we should not continue to demonize voters who are actually making their own informed decision when there are a lot of issues that talk to the wider coalition that we need to continue to bring over to the Democratic Party fold. Again, this conversation around particularly white women that had started happening in 2016. Yes, those margins with young Black voters, young Black men are extremely important. We still have 3 weeks out. To be honest, a lot of people are just starting to pay attention to the election, those who don't watch the news like we are in every single day. But I want to make sure we're not having this conversation where we are demonizing folks for making an informed decision. And the reality is Vice President Harris is going directly to these voters and having these conversations and listening.
Well, I don't think she's demonizing. I'm just saying that. I mean, she's making a big effort now to reach out to that sector. But
yeah, just let me clarify quickly. I'm not you are. I think that you're demonizing Vice President Harris. I think the conversation is solely focused on Black men in a way that I think is unfair to the accountability that we have to hold all pieces of the electorate that make up the coalition that could
just to follow up, do you think that then President Obama's appeal was misplaced, and was that a mistake? Because he's the one who's really amplified that conversation.
Yeah, totally. Look, I think President Obama was trying to have a candid conversation with some voters, and there are some voters that it worked for and some voters that it did not work for. And you will continue to see more people talking to different segments of the population. Let me be honest, Black voters are not a monolith, right? And so one messenger may work for one and one messenger may not work for another. And so again, you will see the Harris campaign continuing this week, talking to Black voters. They're having these they had some watch parties this week in some battleground states with some key surrogates who are Black men. You had her again on these interviews. She's sitting down with Charlemagne tomorrow. So we're having the conversation. They're having the conversation. And I do think you will continue to see more people have support. And listen, one messenger is not going to get the entire community.
Now before I continue, I want to say that the most important. that solve the problem? Did I fix the problem now? Is that
It
better?
is fixed and people can hear you. Yes, we're on the air right
Okay.
now. We're talking to you on the
Uh,
air. This got caught up into a loop
okay.
somehow.
Now let me. Were you able to hear the discussion perfectly with the
Mostly,
interview?
yes. Right
Okay.
toward the end, it started to loop a little bit, but
Okay.
you're okay now.
Excellent.
And we have folks calling
Excellent.
in telling us that you were looping. So if you're dizzy from looping, well, just have a seat.
Okay. Now, I just now, as long as I hope people understood that the discussion that I just played with the interview that occurred. Here is the problem. The first thing that Andrea Mitchell said was that uh, that Kamala Harris didn't do serious interviews. She implied she didn't do serious interviews with people who didn't understand, who didn't agree with her, etc. Meaning she didn't do Fox News. The reality is Donald Trump didn't do MSNBC. So there is that imbalance of, well, Kamala didn't do this, Kamala didn't do that. But let's say that's true. Why not do the same with Donald Trump? The second thing she did is when the panelists pushed back, Alencia pushed back and said, look, I understand that the black men vote may be off, let's say 2-3% from Kamala from the high. It still turns out that black men have been voting Democratic because of informed reasons why they do. But if we agree, which all the polls say that two of the major issues in this election, one is women's reproductive rights, and two is the economy, right? Why is it that you are not asking the same question of white women who currently in the current polls are polling more? They are voting, I think, by 2% more for Donald Trump. While women in the entire country, there's a huge gap. It is made up mostly of women of color that are so much invested in electing the Democrat who is not denying women's reproductive rights, when 67%, more than 67% of all women, more than 60% of white women want their reproductive rights protected. Why don't you put the same onus that you're putting on black men on white women as well? That would be an informed way of dealing. The media deals with the issue because sometimes people need to have a jog. Imagine if the narrative became, if somebody like Andrea Mitchell came out and said to the vast, and by the way, a 1 percentage point change in white women compared to a 1 or 2 percentage change in black men is huge because there are so many more white women than there are black men. So if we get a 2 or 3% shift in white women, the election is over, right? But here's the deal. Imagine, imagine, and remember, I want to point out, I am using race because we're in a racialized country, not because I believe there's something about race that really makes a difference, but we are in a racialized society. And as such, it would seem that it would be educational, it would be informative if the narrative was, well, black men have moved 2 percentage points towards Trump, and we have white women voting for Trump by a margin of 2 or 3% over a vote for Harris, even though most white women support, just like the rest of women, support reproductive rights. They support a better economy. Suppose Andrea Mitchell also pointed out to white women that if you are an economic a person voting on the economy, just like on the Rachel Maddow show yesterday points out that every single factor within the economy under Biden, even though it's not advertised, even though people don't come out and say it, has been better under Biden than Trump. And you may say, well, what about inflation? Now, that's an interesting issue because the inflation, while it's true, it's also caused by the supply chain problem created by Trump and the mismanagement of COVID done by Trump. Media matters. Media matters, and how a story or the news is framed matters. And because of the way the media is framed, it does an injustice to black men, white women, white men, everybody that's racial. It does an injustice because people don't see the full narrative. And then they work on that bad information. Supposed that the media was pointing out that, by the way, black men that are thinking about voting for Trump, do you know he wants to immunize police officers? Immunizing police officers, meaning your bodies who's been battered more so than any other bodies by cops, will be battered more with no consequences. Suppose she said, hey, white women, what you've heard about the economy, the policies of Kamala versus the policies of Trump makes more sense for you young women that are going to have a kid. For you, I met a listener to this show yesterday at a Democratic political event last night. And she came up to me and said, hey, I listened to your show. I just love when I meet our folks in the person outside. And she said, I listened to your show. And she said, I want to call in sometimes, but sometimes I don't know what to say. And I said, you always have something to say. Call in. But the other thing she told me is, I have a story for you. And she told me a story about a friend on chemotherapy. And chemotherapy reduces changes your hormones, and your birth control pills don't work as they should or they normally would. So she, even taking the birth control pills, not knowing that, she got pregnant and needed an abortion because there was no preparation for having a kid or anything of that nature. She's in Texas. She was able to get an abortion before the laws were passed. And the question to my listeners, she said, in today's Texas, she could not have gotten an abortion. She would have been stuck or have to leave the state. These are the things we're talking about, my brothers and sisters. The media matters. Being informed matters. We have to be informed. All right, let's go. Let's start out with Brother Ray. Come on in, Brother Ray.
Yeah, you hit a lot of points on the head. Good morning, Alberto, and good morning to the geniuses. Appreciate y'all keeping it down. I'm not going to take too much time because I know you got a lot, but I did want to come in with a quote from Brother George Carlin. Maybe it'll make you laugh. It might make you think. But I think it could apply a lot, especially here in Texas. So I get a lot of this when I, am out in the community talking to people, at their doors and stuff. And I agree with this sentiment from George Carlin. Everybody complains about politicians. Everybody says they suck. Well, where do people think these politicians come from? They don't fall out of the sky. They don't pass through a membrane from another reality. They come from American parents and American families, American homes, American schools, American churches, American businesses, and American universities. And they are elected by American citizens. This is the best we can do, folks. This is what we have to offer. It's what our system produces. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have selfish, ignorant citizens, you're going to get selfish, ignorant leaders. Term limits ain't going to do any good either. You're just going to end up with a bunch of brand new, selfish, ignorant Americans. So maybe it's not the politicians who suck. Maybe it's something else that sucks around here, like the public. Maybe they should take, and I'm going to end there and paraphrase it. But I agree. The public should take some accountability for these awful politicians. That's why we need to be more involved in primary politics. That's why we need to be involved in organizing on the other side when they get elected. So I'll leave with that, Egberto.
Well, Ray, there's something important that I want to take the clip I want to take out of you. The politicians is not the politicians are no more than a reflection of who we currently are. And notice I said currently are because we all have the opportunity to change. We all have the opportunity to become better people. And one of the things that with the Andrea Mitchell piece that I wanted to point out there is just as Andrea Mitchell could have informed the listener, including black men, that Donald Trump supports immunity, and as such, it's a clear and present danger for them to vote for Donald Trump. So as well, she could have pointed out two white women, to many of whom don't understand the full implication of Donald Trump, and make them better people, make all other people better people by being informed. Thank you so kindly for your call, Ray. And let's go to Brother Bill Crozier from the Houston Peace and Justice Center. Come on in, Bill.
Well, good morning, Egberto. Good to hear your show, and Ray had some good points too. And I'd like to just shift the discussion briefly, if I could, for a minute.
First of all, tell us who you are, Bill.
Okay, yeah, I'm Bill Crozier. Well, besides being a longtime KPFT volunteer, I'm also president of HPJC, the Houston Peace and Justice Center. And we have an event coming up that I wanted to make sure everybody knew about. Every year we recognize people in our community who've been working for peace and justice and equality and sustainability and things like that. And we're having our annual Peacemaker Awards ceremony on Sunday, November 10th. So that's what I wanted to mention. It's kind of a celebration also. It's a great way to mix and mingle with other progressives and people that care about things like this and the stuff that you talk about on your show too, as well as being a fundraiser for for HPJC.
Tell us who we're honoring this year, Bill.
Yeah, okay. Well, this year we're doing something a little different. We usually name one person for our main award, a National Peacemaker Award, and this year, and they also give a speech. But this year we're honoring three people posthumously who've all died in the last 3 years. It's called the Houston Three Amigos that work together for justice, respect, equality for over 50 years. And that's Archbishop Joseph Fiorenza, Rabbi Samuel E. Karff, and William Lawson, Reverend William Lawson. They worked individually as well as together on justice for people that were, not getting it. And we really appreciate that. And then they're going to have some family members accept the award on behalf of them and answer questions. And the Archbishop's going to have one of the Dominican Sisters of Houston do that. And then we're also giving 4 local Peacemaker Awards also to people that are been doing good stuff in the community. They're usually people that aren't very well known at all, but who deserve some recognition for the work they're doing. And so the first one of those, the local Peacemaker Awards that we're going to be giving goes to Dr. John Tice of Lone Star College Kingwood. And he's been working on deliberative engagement of getting students involved in issues affecting the community and from what I read, getting a lot of students really excited about that sort of thing. Kind of what you do, we're talking about, and, like getting people involved and how can they make a difference. Another one is going jointly to the Death Row Angels of Houston, which is founded by Danny Allen and Linda Snyder. KPFT listeners may know them from the prison show. They're also involved with the prison show here on KPFT, and they help give people in death row some humanity, I'll just put it that way, and provide support that they wouldn't otherwise be getting. Another one of the local Peacemaker Awards goes to Barry Klein, who's been a longtime activist in Houston. He was even involved in helping get a KPFT going back around 1969, before he got on the air in 1970. And he's worked on a lot of other other issues and cares a lot about peace and trying to get us away from the war machine mentality. And finally, Laisha Harris is going to receive a local award. She taught middle school, and she's now a public defender in the Harris County Public Defender's Office, again, helping give people a chance who can't afford expensive lawyers and things like that. And she's an attorney. So we're really excited about getting to honor all of them, as well as getting to have a nice kind of social event, too, for people to get together with each other. And that's going to be November 10th at the Sunday afternoon after the election.
And after the election, and it's going to be a good election, but now we need to tell them where they can go register. And folks, please think about attending this event. This is a great event celebrating people who really work for peace and justice and equality in our society. And it's at hpjc.org. You can go to hpjc.org to get to the link to. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, HPJC, that stands for Houston Peace and Justice Center, hpjc.org, as you were saying, Egberto. There's a link there on the homepage for more information. There's a summary of the event there. There's a link for more information. There's a separate link if you want to go ahead and directly register. Pre-registration is required. We need a head count. And, of course, we'd appreciate your donations, too. But, frankly, even if you can't afford for a ticket, and they're very reasonably priced, you can volunteer and go to the bottom of the page and click on the Contact Us link, and you can volunteer for free. Hope to see people there. And the registration fees do go up after October 20th. So thanks.
So please go now, folks. Please go and do it now. Brother Bill Crozier, president of the Houston Peace and Justice Center. Thank you, my brother, for getting up early to be on Politics Done Right, my man.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Keep up the good work with your show.
Okay, my man. Take care. All right, let's go to Betty. Come on in, Betty.
Good morning, Alberto, and you other two guys up there. Love y'all. Yeah, I love y'all. I want to say two things about regular Medicare. For the old folks, I got it when I got 65. It comes right out of my check, and you don't even feel it. They pay 80%. That is a lot. And whenever you're dying, they're there to hold your hand. They're not going to drop you because you're costing them too much. I read an ad years ago, said Medicare, regular Medicare, they could make a killing if they would just not be holding those old folks' hand when they were dying, and the ones dying, they still want to live, too. Whichever way, we all have to go down that road. But anyway, the regular Medicare, they have a heart. They do. And the others, oh, Lord, run like the devil with them. And on the abortion thing, and on the abortion thing, the girls out there, they're letting the law of abortion running their lives for them. They are running their lives for them, living their lives for them. And this is on Donald Trump. He's a flighty, dirty bird, and he goes around leaving egg farts everywhere. Love y'all.
Thank you, Betty. All right, let's go ahead and go. Thank you very much for that, Betty. Let's go ahead and go to Jacob. Come on in, Jacob. I'm going to have to kind of limit the time a little bit now. Come on in, Jacob.
Yeah. Hey, old girl who interviewed was on that. She from Chicago. She from that machine, that Chicago political machine that got Obama elected. David Hasselhoff.
You're talking about Alicia. Yeah.
Alicia, yeah, she from Chicago.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, but look, did you hear what she said? She said the second largest voting bloc for the Democratic
Yes.
Party is black men. That's what she said.
Yes.
Now, that
And
means
she's right.
second. The first. Okay, so they second. And when you talking about teaching them to the white women, look at here. She been white women. It ain't white women, black women, women. That's been her whole thing. That's been her mistake. Now she want to talk about bringing in the black men, and she can't win. She can't win without get. That's the biggest voting block that they have. And what's the trouble about it is that she took too long to engage, and she took them for granted. Hillary Clinton got 90% on the black vote. She can polling at 70-something. In these last 3 weeks, she took a little too long. And as far as reproduction,
Jacob,
right?
Jacob, let me hold you a second. Let me hold you back a little bit here. Let me give you some numbers, okay? Because this is important. First of all, people need to stop talking as if the race is fairly tied within the margin of errors, but the reality is Kamala Harris is still winning the race both in the battlegrounds and outside. The problem is that it's too close. Now, the discussion that I tried to make is that we should be talking about everybody. I am not a race person, but we are a racialized society. We should talk about everybody. That black men move 2% is not a big deal if white women move the other direction 2%. And that is what people, that is kind of loud. But Jacob, my phones are jam packed and I hear what you have to say. Real quick, brother, real quick.
We're not no criminals. It's not that. That's not. He investigated right now. It's not about it's like we criminals. We got to vote for that.
No, I get it, sir. Sir, I get you, bro. Jacob, no, don't go because I have to answer that. I said, well, let me answer. Let me answer because I really need to. The reason I brought up police in the first place is Donald Trump wants to immunize police officers, and what I said, an immunized police officer who normally mistreats bodies of people of color, specifically black men, their lives would be in danger. My life would be in danger. Every time I get stopped by a cop, my heart is in my throat because I know whether I behave correctly, which I always do, hands on the wheel, etc., that I am at his, whether he's in a good mood or not, whether he's a racist or not, I'm at his behest. And with immunity, that puts my life in danger. Let's go to Ingrid, line 6.
Hello. I just have a statement.
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can.
I just have a statement to make. Okay. So if Donald Trump, the abortion, I want to talk about the abortion. If Donald Trump says that he voted on Roe versus Wade to be reversed to put it back on the states, correct?
Yes.
Why aren't we the people holding our governors more accountable for the process? Like some states have abortions that where it's legal to get them done with certain stipulations. Here in Texas, it's nothing, period. They don't want to hear anything about it. So why aren't we the people going after the governors that's making it 0%? Is that possible?
I mean, there are several things that we could do. I mean, one, we could go ahead and put a constitutional amendment on our ballot. That's one item. But you said the most important one. We can make sure the governor isn't reelected so that we can easily get that constitutional amendment on the ballot. Because again, remember, it's not only the governor that passes the law, but our lieutenant governor who brings these things up, who tells what's going to be voted on in the legislature, and he will not allow that to occur. So, first of all, our lieutenant governor, to some extent, is more powerful than our governor. Nobody likes to talk about that too often, but we can actually do that if we get rid of Patrick and we get rid of Abbott. And that is where we should be looking at, exactly as you are saying. We should get rid of both of those guys and we should switch our legislature.
Got it. Okay.
All
That's
right.
what I wanted to know.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, Ingrid.
Thank
You have a wonderful rest of your day. All right, let's go to Harry. Come on in, Harry. And Harry, I'm out of time,
Good
so like 1 minute.
morning.
Good morning, my
Right.
brother.
Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Jack. Okay, the media has to do a better job, as you and the mayor are always talking about. They got to do big picture thinking. Andrea Mitchell should be talking about the 2% white women in the abortion. Now, if those 2%, we know that Donald Trump put those three justices up there, and they reversed Roe v. Wade, so you're voting against your own interests. And as far as black men, the ones that are ignorant, don't really know what Kamala Harris is all about, they need to go and educate themselves, the young black men. Now, I'm not telling you who you to vote for, but you can vote for whoever you want. Kamala still has that Middle East problem because she's going to have that Muslim vote, and I don't know what she can do there because she's on the side of Israel. She's on the wrong side of this. And so I just look at it that black men just,
I really have to go, Harry, but I think we got your point, Harry, but I got to go to Derek. Thank you, my brother. Let's go to Derek. Come on in, Derek. Real quick, give me about 45 seconds, my brother.
Quickly, I don't think Kamala is going to have very much to worry about, especially when it comes to black men. 80% of black men are voting for Kamala Harris. So, and quickly, it boils down to one factor to everybody, and everybody listen, because one candidate would drive the country to hell in a rocket ship, just like Minister Farrakhan say, and that's the one that wants war. You got one candidate that can slow it down. It is not going to avert America getting into war, but it could be much slower pace towards war. So if you vote on that, Kamala Harris will win. Thank you, bro.
Thank you very much, Derek. Got to go. Let's go to Brother Brian.
Good morning for everyone that volunteers for this station. You probably didn't hear it or you didn't want to see it, what Bill Clinton said this weekend about the woman that was murdered by the illegal alien. Yeah,
Just
did
tell
you
me
hear that?
because you don't have a lot of time.
Okay, Bill Clinton said Kamala Harris didn't do her job because he wasn't properly vetted, and she'd still be alive. He also said that we need the illegal aliens because there's not enough population here in the United States because people doesn't want to work. So that's a double stab at Kamala Harris. First off, not doing her job for having a woman murdered, and her stance on abortion. But of course, left wing doesn't see this.
I do appreciate. I think you need to stop listening to what right wing tells you and listen to the entire statement in the context that it was said.
No,
but we can't talk about it right now because I don't have it, sir. I don't have enough time right now. But context is important, Brian. Context is important. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Let's go, Bard. You got 1 minute, and let me forewarn you: if you do what you did yesterday, you'll be banned from my program permanently because what you did was election fraud. Go ahead, Bard.
Yeah, you censored me yesterday. You're the one that said that voting day was Friday on your show last week. So I was just following up on that.
No, I never said that. I checked. Thank you.
Okay. Well, another thing you didn't see or failed to mention was the assassination attempt on President Trump, the third one.
Again, hold on. That's why I tell you about misinforming people. That was a Trump supporter who believes in gun, and he was not attempting to assassinate Trump at all. And that was stated by the Republican sheriff. Please, again, stop lying and at least try to get some information. I got to go to Terry. Thank you very much, Bart. Again, misinformation and lies. We got to stop that, brother. Terry, come on in.
Good morning, Egberto. Well, the first thing is that this is all a fallacy. Trump doesn't want an election. He's got election deniers put into place to refuse to certify the vote, so it goes to a Republican-held Senate. So he just gets appointed to president. He doesn't want an election. He doesn't care about any of this. He's got an end goal, and they're going to play the long game. He's going to get back into office through some scheme.
Again, let me just correct Terry. Let me correct something real quickly, brother. The way it works is if it's inconclusive, it goes to the Congress, and Congress then picks on a per state basis. The good thing about it is that Kamala Harris will be in charge of the process, right? And just like they will try to do something unconstitutional, she'll bring it to constitutional into the constitutional rigor. So again. All we need to do is go out there and vote. Nothing that they're going to try is going to work unless we were to turn into wimps, which we won't. Terry, real quick closer because I got to go.
Thank you. That was it. You touched the base for me.
All right. You have a great day, my dear brother. All right. Let me throw it back to the studio.
And here we are in the studio. Jack has a whole page here that he wants to talk about, so go right ahead.
Not a whole page, but just some notes. Kamala wants to add benefits to Medicare, and Trump is saying Trump's Social Security plan is a huge win with voters, kind of like he did in the first election when he said, I'm going to raise taxes on my friends so high that they won't speak to him. Did he do that? No.
Well, Trump really never does anything that he says he's going to do anyway. So there you go. One other thing I wanted to correct on one of the callers, they said Kamala was, talking about the abortion thing and how we're going to be deporting illegal aliens. That's the Trump side. He's already said he's going to deport 30 million illegal citizens?
Yeah, they said 20 million, even though that's not the amount.
Well, I thought it was 30. Maybe he's dropped
30.
it down.
I mean, you never know what number he's going to use.
Well, I tell you one thing, if you do something like that, the cost of everything is going to go crazy because those folks are underpaid, underappreciated, and if you get rid of them, then who's going to pick the lettuce? Who's going to build the houses? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do the labor? Everything is going to go skyrocketing, and then Trump's going to go, well, I didn't really figure that was going to happen. All right, take it home, Egberto.
Yeah, folks, first of all, love all my listeners, love all my callers, even those that like to misinform. I hope that some of us, what we do will rub off on them and they start looking and seeking the truth. Anyway, folks, thank you so kindly. You can find the rest of the show and the videos at politicsandright.com/newsletter. That is at politicsandright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your